A few students laughed when he asked the question. Not loudly, just enough to be heard. "May I speak in Tagalog?" Inside one of Yale University's most prestigious classrooms, where every sentence was expected to be precise, polished, and delivered in flawless academic English, the request sounded almost out of place. A ripple of confusion moved across the room. Someone shifted in their seat. One student smirked, glancing sideways as if unsure whether this was serious. No one expected what would happen next, because in a space built on centuries of intellectual tradition, this quiet Filipino student wasn't just about to speak in another language, he was about to challenge who gets to be heard at all. He had arrived in the United States only weeks earlier, carrying more than luggage. He carried sleepless nights in Manila, parents who sacrificed comfort so their son could chase opportunity, and a silent pressure to prove he belonged in rooms where people often assumed he didn't. Back home, he had been confident, top of his class, respected, comfortable speaking his mind. Here, surrounded by rapid conversations and unfamiliar references, he felt smaller than he ever had before. He listened more than he spoke, measuring every word, worried that one mistake, one misplaced sentence, one hint of his accent might confirm doubts he imagined others already had. But that day, the seminar topic hit something deep: language and power. Students debated why English dominates academia. Some argued efficiency, others cited globalization. A few questioned whether dominance reflects neutrality or inequality. Voices overlapped with polished confidence, supported by research and theory. The professor listened quietly, then asked a simple question. "Does anyone come from a background where another language shapes how you see the world?" Silence. Then slowly one hand rose. When called on, the Filipino student introduced himself softly. He explained that many Filipinos grow up multilingual, shifting between Tagalog, English, and regional languages almost without thinking. A few classmates nodded politely, interested but not yet invested. Then he asked the question that would change everything. "May I demonstrate by speaking in Tagalog?" The professor hesitated, not disapproving, just uncertain. Would it help? Would anyone understand? Finally, he nodded, briefly. The first words sounded unfamiliar to most ears in the room, warm, rhythmic, expressive. He wasn't reading notes, he wasn't translating line by line, he was telling a story. About his grandmother who never learned English but guided an entire family with quiet wisdom. About neighbors who shared food even when they had little. About a culture where respect isn't optional, it lives inside the language itself. His voice grew steadier, stronger, more alive than anyone had heard it before. And then, the room went completely silent. Somewhere near the back, a pen slipped from someone's hand and clattered sharply against the floor, the only sound in a room that suddenly felt too still to breathe. No one bent down to pick it up. What most people didn't realize was that a few students understood every word. A Filipino-American student, a linguistics major who had studied Southeast Asia, someone who had volunteered in Manila. Their reactions changed first. Eyes widened, lips trembled. One covered her mouth, visibly emotional, as if hearing something she didn't realize she had been missing. This wasn't just an example of language, it was a piece of home. When he finished, the professor asked him to summarize in English. He paused, not because he didn't know how, but because translation suddenly felt impossible, like trying to compress an entire life into a few sentences. Finally, he said quietly, "Language carries more than information. It carries values. Some thoughts are born in one language and lose something when forced into another." He explained how Tagalog encodes respect through honorifics, how certain emotions feel incomplete in English, how speaking one's native tongue can feel like stepping into a place where you don't have to justify your existence. Something shifted instantly. The discussion stopped being theoretical. It became human. The professor leaned forward, visibly moved. "Would you teach us a few phrases?" he asked. A few students laughed, but this time it wasn't mocking. It was warm, curious, open, the kind of laughter that invites rather than exclude. Soon the classroom echoed with hesitant attempts at unfamiliar sounds. Students stumbled over syllables, correcting each other, smiling at their mistakes, asking how to say hello, thank you, good morning. And suddenly, the quiet newcomer wasn't the outsider anymore. He was the teacher.
After class, people lined up to speak with him. One admitted she had assumed English fluency equaled intelligence, an assumption she now realized was flawed. Another said she had never considered how much meaning disappears when everything must fit into one dominant language. The Filipino-American student thanked him quietly, saying it felt powerful to hear Tagalog spoken openly in such a prestigious space. Within days, word spread across campus. Students approached him in dining halls, libraries, walkways. Some asked to learn phrases, others asked about the Philippines, its history, food, music, traditions. What began as a brief classroom moment became something much bigger, an exchange, a connection, a reminder that culture travels through people. The professor later invited him to speak at a panel on linguistic diversity. There, he explained how colonial history, migration, and resilience shaped Filipino identity into something uniquely adaptive, people who navigate multiple worlds without fully abandoning any of them. He framed this not as confusion, but as strength. One audience member asked whether native languages still mattered in an English-dominated world. His answer was simple: language is memory. Losing it is like losing a library written inside people's hearts. The room fell silent again. Back home, his parents followed everything through late-night messages. His mother worried he might feel lonely. His father reminded him that wherever he stood, he carried their pride with him. When they heard about the panel, they were stunned. The quiet boy who once hesitated to speak in class was now addressing rooms full of scholars halfway around the world. As the semester continued, something inside him changed. Confidence no longer meant sounding like everyone else. It meant bringing something only he could offer. He shared Filipino dishes at cultural events, organized a small Independence Day celebration, introduced friends to music, stories, traditions they had never encountered before. Many said it was their first real experience of Filipino culture, and they loved it. Years later, classmates would remember that seminar not for any academic theory, but for the moment a student spoke in his native language and transformed the atmosphere of the room. Because it revealed something simple and profound. Intelligence doesn't belong to one language, wisdom doesn't belong to one culture, and belonging doesn't always come from blending in. Sometimes it comes from standing out, bravely, honestly, unapologetically. If this story resonated with you, share it with someone who has ever felt out of place, and tell us in the comments which language feels like home to you. Because sometimes all it takes is one voice spoken in the language of the heart to remind the world that diversity isn't a barrier to understanding, it's the path to it. If this made you proud of Filipino culture, consider subscribing for more stories that celebrate Filipino talent and identity around the world.